Salute Knicks Nation. Let's talk about the preseason finale. Welcome in to the post-game live with CT. Welcome in chat. Welcome in replay squad. As the Knicks lost the preseason finale in Washington tonight, man, it was a back and forth game. Definitely some poor shooting, some lackadaisical defense early in this one, but a thrilling finish that we'll talk about. And of course, our key takeaways, man, as we put to bed now the preseason. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for the real deal now. And I've had about enough of the preseason. And let's shout you guys out and talk about the road ahead. Of course, Boston awaits on Tuesday night, guys. Salute Knicks Nation. Smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Dadiet Kolek put the Knicks up 1 with 17 seconds remaining. It was a game where Washington's starters sat most of the second half, and Knicks rested Brunson late in the fourth as well, and the rest of their starters and Dadiet Kolek, and as well as some other rooks, helped the Knicks get a spark in this one. But it was unfortunate, man. Some poor defense was played in this game, and obviously there's some things we've got to clean up, right? The poor shooting at the very top. And we're going to go through it tonight. We're going to break it all down, give you my thoughts and any concerns heading in to the regular season and some good things. Of course, we always talk about the positive first, but tonight, Brunson, man, he looks ready. 27 points, OG Anunoby, outstanding defensively. And I like the connection of Brunson and Cat in moments in this ball game as well. But of course, the poor shooting of Mikal Bridges, the atrocious defense played early in this one, we'll sort of talk about how much to weigh into that in terms of whether Nick's just taking it lightly tonight or is there real concerns heading in. Of course, guys, get your comments in. Let me know your thoughts. We'll shout it out and we'll bounce off each other tonight, man, in this one. But now that preseason is over, please drop your vote. You could drop a QR code and on the menu, or if you're in the chat right now, you can hashtag your player standout of preseason, right? We'll do a later show before opening night, and we'll do a full wash up of preseason. But of course, the vote will continue. No Deuce McBride tonight. Of course, no Landry Shamet. And we've got some updates, some positive updates on the Landry Shamet front. And that is, there's optimism that he'll avoid surgery, and the Knicks might be looking to keep him on the roster. But we'll talk about that tonight. Deuce's, absence tonight was just rest related. So I feel like the Knicks could have won this ball game if they really, really wanted to. But Washington, they showed some pride tonight as well, right? They didn't want to get beaten again, right? So let's dive into it now. Box score, but salute to the chat. What's up, Buzzer Beater, Paula, Brian, and let's get into it. Agent Chris in the building, guys. What were your takeaways from this one? Right, obviously Brunson's ready. 27 points. He was one of the best shooters of the night. On a night where the team absolutely, stunk it up shooting wise. But Brunson, 2 of 4 from deep, 10 of 15. Exactly what you want to see. Right? He's in mid-season form, man. He's ready for opening night. Karl Anthony Towns, 0 of 5 from deep. That stands out to me a lot, but not as much as the 0 of 10 from Mikal Bridges, right? And that'll be our first main concern that I want to talk about leading in. The jump shot, give me your thoughts on that. But we'll start with positives, of course, and Dadiet Kolek and Dadiet gave the Knicks a spark. And like I said, OG Anunoby was fantastic in this ball game defensively with 3 steals, 14 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, +5 on that one. Mikal Bridges, man, we need more from him. We need more from Josh Hart. And I feel like Tibbs needs to tweak the rotation a little bit. I thought Dadiet gave the Knicks a really good spark. And I feel like in Landry Shamet's absence, we might need him to play more. And I feel like he's up for it. Give me your thoughts on him. I thought Ariel Hukporti, late in the game, he did some really nice things. I think it's still early to say, but I feel like he should factor into this season. He should play some. I like his rebounding and rim protection more than Jericho, and that's my personal preference. I thought Cameron Payne was okay, but streaky once again, 0 of 6 from deep. The Knicks just need to start hitting shots. Otherwise we won't beat good teams, early, in the season. It's going to be a really big test in that one. Welcome in JW says Mikal Bridges' jump shot is looking suspect right now. Absolutely. And I'm not worried about it long term. So I'm not going to dwell on it that much. But I feel like right now, yeah, something needs to click. And we've got to get that going. On the flip side, though, Dadiet's 3-point shot looks really legit. We talked about the high release last show, the catch and shoot there. I thought Dadiet was nice, man. This is a 19-year-old that doesn't look shook. Yeah, he looks more composed out there than Mikal Bridges and hard at times. Had a couple of excellent cuts, to the bucket as well. His feel for the game is really, high. Whether it's 7, 8 out of 10 right now, I think at least. He knows when to cut. I thought defensively he was a little slow, on the switch and rotating, but that's to be expected from some rookies. Chris says also should have had Huck Porty on the court earlier. I echo your thoughts, man. You and I, and many of us, we see the same things. But I'm going to save, wait for Tibbs's final rotation decisions to see. But I don't think it's going to be long before we'll see more Huck Porty at some point, right? Once again, look, Tyler Kolek had a couple of rookie follies late, turned it over, inbounding the play. To answer Buzzer Beater's question, the Knicks did not have an extra timeout. They used the final timeout. So literally he waited all the way till like 4.8 seconds, had to get the ball in bounds, right? And he threw it kind of very low for Huck Porty, for a 7-footer. He threw the ball at his like knees kind of, and Huck Porty had to get down there. It was deflected, and that was the ball game, right on that one. But what I did like from Tyler Kolek was just his feel for the game. His aggression. He doesn't look shook. He was aggressive driving to the cup. He got to the foul line. Made some nice passes as well. If you are going to play a young player, a rookie, they can't be scared out there. They've just got to force the issue and be aggressive. And speaking of being aggressive, OG Anunoby is drawing a lot of praise online right now for his performance, man. All over the place. Here's the other guy that's in mid-season form. It was JB and it was OG tonight. The two carryovers from last season. I want to see Hart step it up. And of course, Cat, some good things and some things that, he needs to get better at as well. But I thought we really missed Deuce McBride and we really missed Landry Shamet, guys, on that one. Bronx Root says, not sure why Bridges changed his shot so drastically. Yeah, it was a high release, the hitch. I feel like he's got to do something, man, and he's got to correct that. And I think he will. But I'm more concerned defensively, right? The calling card of this starting five should be switchability. Yes, we're going to lose a little bit of physicality and rebounding with Cat, but I don't think Cat was an issue tonight. I thought Cat battled. I thought Cat fought down low. He battled Valanciunas. And I don't think really Cat was that bad defensively. I thought our perimeter D was absolutely horrible. Man, it was the worst outside of OG, of course. Hart, Bridges, other guys were just getting blown by. It was blow by after blow by tonight, man. It was like a NASCAR racing track, Formula One Grand Prix. Guys were just getting an open lane. We have to clean that up. And I feel like Tom Thibodeau is going to be irate after this one. And look, a silver lining is if you want to drop a game, you drop it before the games really matter. And I think Tibbs is going to have plenty of film, to show these guys. But of course, I don't really feel like the effort was 100% there as well. Preseason, and that's my overarching take of preseason, guys. And I sort of just want to give my overall thoughts now that preseason's over. And this includes tonight, of course, as well. But shout out, chat. I see you. Get your comments in, questions, and we're starring them and get through as many as we can. Smash that like button, please, and shout out to Replay Squad. But I said it initially, preseason, I didn't like the fact that it was a weak competition. Really, what can you take away from beating, Charlotte and Washington twice? 4 out of the 5 games are against lottery talent. And then you've got one really good game, tough game against Minnesota. So I feel like it really didn't do the Knicks any favors. You want to be playing in the fire. You want to be playing against tough competition. Yes, we got to trial a couple of guys and, you know, play the rookies a bit more, which is good. But I felt like if we are going to be underdone to start the season against, the first 4 games are tough, we should have played a couple more tougher teams in preseason. That's my personal preference, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Right, there was nothing really to gain from playing Washington and Charlotte twice as well. Buzzer says we missed our defensive rotations big time. Agent says Ariel just got here and Sim's been here for 4 years. Too. Yeah, I think the pleasing thing from preseason overall, I guess, is it looks like Huck Porty's a player. Tyler Kolek, we kind of knew what we could see from him, and he definitely put his hand up. I think overall, I think Pacome Dadiet though has to be the major surprise. Came on the scene late. Um, who would have thought that he would be, dropping those 3 balls really comfortably? Missed the first 3 games, but the last 2 games, has come on late. Pacome Dadiet, right? Is Tibbs tempted? Right. This would debunk a lot of myths if Pacome Dadiet can get minutes. But, credit to the kid. He was an afterthought. People kind of, some even slandered the pick. Some even felt like, they're not even going to see a minute of Pacome Dadiet this season. Well, I think that's way off base right now. I think Pacome Dadiet, whilst he won't be in the rotation probably to start the season, he will see meaningful minutes this season, right? The depth and the bench is just too shallow for Pacome Dadiet to not see any minutes this season, right? It might take 10 games, it might take a little more, it might even be less than that, right? It's anybody's guess right now, ladies and gents. But, spot minutes, 8 minutes here and there, his length, I think, his feel for the game, might be needed earlier than expected. We know campaign can kind of fall in love with, jack and threes and things like that. The defense on the bench can be lackluster, and I think Dadier might get an opportunity. What are your thoughts on that? Um, you know, Kolek was beaten on that final buzzer beater by Johnny Davis, right? I thought he defended that possession really well. I think it was just the length of Johnny Davis to get that shot up over the top of Kolek, but he did a good job not fouling. It is what it is. He's 6'2". Johnny Davis is 6'5". So he got that shot up, but not worried about the result at all. Guys, not one bit. If we have Deuce McBride, we probably still win the ball game. It was bench versus bench late, right? But Knicks Nation's still going to be upset. We should be winning these games still against Washington early. I think the starters owe this one though. The starters need to wear this one because the game was really lost in the first half. Coming from behind, I think Mikal Bridges, right, as a veteran, I think he's going to have that pride to say, I need to be better. 12 not going to cut it, right? Especially when you're trusted to play a lot with the bench. 2, I like the 22 points from Cat. I like the 12 boards. I like the 4 assists, but I don't like the 7 of 16 and the 0 of 5 as well. So Cat hasn't had a positive shooting night in all of preseason. Hopefully, he's getting all of that, all of those bricks out of the way for the real deal. But he's getting good looks. He's getting good looks, and I think it's going to be down to shot selection a lot, guys. J Dub says Tibbs need to get this team focused for opening night. There was an Akiki sighting late, fam, but in terms of Akiki, I think he's going to get cut. And we'll talk about the final, roster decisions and everything on the back end of tonight's show, because there's some clear decisions to make. Interesting, first game without Landry Shamet. And I'm going to say we really did miss someone who could get a shot up, who could just be, active, and underrated defensively as well. Bronx says Pac Daddy will develop, right, and become a Josh Hart replacement potentially in the future when Hart's contract ends. We'll see. Yeah, I think Dadiet is a player, man. I've seen it. Chris Connors also says Pac-Man can easily give you 20 a game if given the minutes. Yep. I think the thing I felt the best about before we even saw Dadiet, I thought he's an NBA body. You know, he's 6'8", 6'9" at least. You could see him if he's active, he's engaged, and he starts reading the game better. I feel like he was going to get minutes sooner rather than later. But after seeing 2 games of him, I mean, I'm ready for those minutes now, right? No Landry Shamet. Look, TJ Warren, veteran savviness. Wouldn't mind him seeing, situational minutes either. But I think to start the season, guys, I think Tibbs is going to start with a tight rotation, and maybe ease guys in because just winning early is going to be critical, especially when you face Boston, Indiana, Cleveland, and Miami. I think Tibbs might just start with that 8-9 man, fam. It's definitely going to be Deuce off the bench with Precious Achua as the 6th and 7th guy. Cameron Payne, clearly the 8th guy right now. Does he go that 9th guy? Is it Jericho Sims? Unfortunately, from my perspective, it seems like Sims, although I don't really feel like he's impacting those minutes enough. But I feel like, Sims is probably that 9th guy right now. Maybe Dadiet, that 10th guy, Kolek, Hakpority. I mean, you can make a case for either one. So make your case. Who should be the 9th guy, fam, as well? But we also have to address Sharon also mentioning in the chat, is Precious okay? So that is a headache, man. Unfortunately, it looked like Precious did tweak a hamstring, fam, and so we wait. Obviously, we don't know the severity of it yet, so we have to wait and find out the outcome of the Precious Achua tweaking of the hamstring. It looked like, and so we're going to be short of bodies, fam, and I feel like Sims is obviously going to play if Precious can't go. And Ariel Huckporty will probably sneak in there as well, fam. So if Precious can't go opening night, he's probably going to have to play OG with the bench or at least Cat, I think. You're at least going to have to play OG or Cat with the bench lineup if Precious can't go. And then you're going to have to play Sims and Huckporty in the rotation. I think there's kind of no choice, right? But there was some really good things that I saw from Cat, right? Once again, those flashes of a dynamic offense, the cutting, the pick and roll with Jalen Brunson, and just his ability to lose his man. He's more mobile and more connected offensively, right? Obviously, than Mitch and the other bigs that we had, right? But here is, one of the best plays from Dadiet of the night, Jalen Brunson. I mean, this is what you want to see, guys, right? When everyone's focused on Brunson, it's Dadiet that cuts at the very right time. That's instinct, that's feel for the game, and that's pro experience, playing in FIBA, playing in Europe kind of stuff as well. A lot of rookies would have just stood there on the perimeter, and not done anything, right? The ball is always live, my friends, and you must be moving at all times. You must be cutting to get the defense scrambling on that one. So big tick from Pacome Dadiet. Yeah, Tyler Kolek, right, wasn't able to pull out the win late, but more positive than negatives, I think, from Tyler Kolek. Made some great plays late. Chris says Pacome reminds me of a young KD, style of play-wise on that one. Wall Street says Sims should be that last guy on that one. Yeah, look, Sharon, prayers up for Precious, hopefully. Thanks for bringing him up and reminding me about that situation, right? We haven't heard any reports at the minute. He went back to the locker room. And obviously, if you're checking this out on replay, we'll probably know more about that situation, right? But Landry Shamet, some positive news on that front did come out that the New York Knicks will update the timeline at a later date, but it looks like they're still evaluating, and it looks like there's optimism reporting Ian Begley that he might avoid surgery. So that tells me it may not be as serious as the Julius Randle one. Obviously, Julius did have to have surgery inevitably, but it looks like maybe he avoids that. The Knicks will hold on to him, I think. The Knicks will be able to make a decision until 5 p.m. Saturday. So basically 5 p.m. tomorrow, the Knicks will have to finalize their roster after training camp and make the final cuts per NBA protocols. And so I don't think the Knicks need to make a decision right now if they're not quite sure of the outcome. Keep Landry Shamet for now, um, and then see what happens. Hopefully he can avoid surgery. I think he needs to stick right now, and right now I feel okay playing Payne, Deuce, Precious Achua, and then obviously between Kolek and Dadiet might get some minutes. And TJ Warren, if he sticks, uh, there has been some speculation about Marcus Morris Sr. Um, and his brother even liked a tweet or an update about the report having internal interest in Marcus Morris's return. Mook Morris's brother, Markeith Morris, did like that tweet, so there might be some smoke where that fire is too. But before Precious got injured, I like his activeness too. Thought Precious was okay tonight. Here are one of his highlight plays. Nice feed off Bridges, and I love the cutting for Precious Achua. In this preseason so far. We got a super chat from Buzzer. Let's hit on that one. Appreciate you, Buzzer, on this one. Great question. Who do you trust, Cam or Kolek, Hukpority or Sims? Assuming you want me to pick one of the two combinations, I would still trust Cameron Payne early if I have to choose between him and Kolek. But it's close, man. It's close. I think Tyler Kolek is someone who can, take his position and definitely, as the season progresses and learn the NBA game still. But for right now, I feel like that emphasis on experience and just taking care of the ball early, I would trust Cam Payne slightly to start the season. And things could change, man, after 5 or 10 games. But as for the other decision, I think you might know my decision on that one, man. It's a Hukpority, clearly. I think in terms of the big rotation at the 5, I like his rebounding. You saw some great rebounds late. Yes, he did, pick up a foul late in that one where he was closing out on the drive. But I thought he did a good job trying to go vertical on that. There's going to be that, usual rookie fouling. But I think what he gives you offensively and just being a bigger body. And look, I don't even think Sims has been bad that in preseason. He's just been what he is, and I think that kind of says enough. I think that kind of says a lot. Jericho is one of those players where, and he's done well to, to be in the NBA this, for as long as he has, but he's 6'10", and he's got great hops, but he's just not a traditional center, in my opinion. He's not a good rim protector. Still struggles, protecting the paint. Pretty solid rebounding. I don't have too much negative to say about Sims's rebounding, but his decision making at times, he's rotating as well. But I just think for the future, he's 26 now or soon. Hukporty's got 4 years on him in age, being only 22, and assumingly they're going to sign him to a longer term contract. Sims is on the final year of his contract as well. And so I think the decision is pretty clear. But for right now, I'm glad we have both because we do need that insurance. We're going to need all these guys, and they are going to get their opportunities, at various stages of the season. And it's going to be a marathon, this one. But arguably the greatest positive of the night is reporting Ian Begley. I'm told that there is internal optimism that Shamet can avoid surgery here and can rehab the injury and ultimately be back, hopefully soon or sooner rather than later. So what are your thoughts on that, guys, ladies and gents? The chat's buzzing, right? Win or loss, we're always up in here talking about it and got to clean some things up. But I think a loss to start the season, or before the season begins, a loss to finish preseason isn't the worst thing. A little wake-up call, so to speak, I feel. Wall Street, Tibbs spoke very highly of Shamet. I think he was a lock to make the squad, and I think they would love to keep him around on that one. Bronx says Sims not an NBA player. He'll be at the very end of the bench somewhere or overseas. Yeah, I think he was healthy throughout the summer as well. So he had a great opportunity to to come in and really stake a claim, right? Now, maybe by default, but it looks like he's still won that first backup spot. Um, just Tibbs' stubbornness, in my opinion. I think we've seen enough from Huck Porty to suggest that he should, get those minutes. Maybe the fact that he's a rookie still, has Tibbs, giving Sims that first chance, but I think it won't be long, man. But Tibbs would be stubborn, in my opinion, if he doesn't give Pacome Dadiet a chance, man. 4 of 7 tonight, 2 of 3 from deep. I mean, one of the best shooters, efficiency-wise. 10 points, 0 in the plus minus, 3 rebounds. I mean, I thought he gave really good minutes, 17 minutes. I thought there was a lot of team breakdowns too. It wasn't necessarily player individual breakdowns. It was for the rookies, it was sort of team wise and sort of getting on the same page. Needing that playing time with one another. To really be effective, right? Johnny Davis, man, he's been in the league a while. He should be looking comfortable, buzzer, against a lot of these neophytes too. But yeah, I love it, man. There's going to be a lot of overreactions to this, and there's going to be some that don't even care about it. I'm halfway in between, like on this one. You can't ignore some concerns, and let's sort of dive into that mainly now. I want to talk about concerns leading into the start of the season, right? And that is we just don't look on the same page yet defensively, and I think it's going to take a bit more time than defensively than offensively. We're giving up too many open looks, ladies and gentlemen. We're giving up too many open looks, and I think the starters need to be better on the defensive side. Now, how much of that is missing Isaiah? How much is that is Cat? And a natural defensive regression. No Mitch. Or how much of that is just Bridges and Hart just need to pull their finger out? I think I single those two out because they're veterans and they need to be better defensively. They've been bad. They've been bad offensively, and we're going to talk about that. But I'm talking about defensively. Those guys should be more rock solid. OG's been fantastic. Brunson's not a defensive type player. So, yes, he could improve, but we need to see more of that. But Bridges and Hart, really underwhelming preseasons for me. So that's at the very top. The next thing is shooting. Shooting wise, we need to, hit these open looks. We are getting pretty good looks. The offense is, as advertised in terms of 5 out. The ball movement's been nice at times. The cutting's been nice. The synergy's there. I think we just need to put it all together. But the shooting, man, there's no point getting open looks if you're just going to keep bricking, right? So Karl Anthony Towns, I'm looking at you first up. You've been inefficient from 3 every game, so you have to be better. Mikal Bridges, 0 of 10 is incredible, and hopefully we never ever ever have to see that stat line again. Hopefully, I'm sure he's going to get in the gym, and I'm sure he's going to be working on that jump shot, man, all night. Hopefully he leaves all those bricks in Washington, and when he comes back to New York City, and when he hits Beantown on Tuesday night, hopefully he's just bringing that fire and the flamethrower that we know that he can have. But yeah, that's my second concern, guys. So the first one is defensively. We're just not yet on the same page. Shooting wise is the second big concern, right? Third, fourth is kind of tied into rotating and switching, and then rebounds, right? Rebounds isn't at the top of my list because I feel like we'll be solid enough. We're definitely going to take a step back rebounding. I mean, Mitch and Isaiah were 2 of the best rebounders in the game, right? And you lose them, you are going to lose some level of rebounding. But I think we can make up for it. OG's been okay. Hart, we know he can, pull in double-digit rebounds. I think Bridges needs to be better on the glass again. But the pleasing thing is that Karl Anthony Towns is battling. I like his effort defensively on the glass. And tonight, 9 rebounds, 12 rebounds total. For a guy that's a stretch 5 and you know what it is, we're going to give up some rim protection, but we're really not it's not that much of a concern rebounding wise with Karl Anthony Towns. I just feel like there is going to be a drop off, sort of just naturally from the guys that we had, right? And Karl Anthony Towns is going to be out on the perimeter as well, whereas Isaiah and Mitch weren't stretch fives; they were, kind of camped out in the paint. So we do need to do a better of crashing the glass, yeah, in that regard, as well, right? And then the final two main concerns is obviously more individually Bridges' jump shot, Bridges' integration, and the final main concern I've got is rotation depth and decisions. What is Tibbs going to do, right? If he chooses Jericho Sims over Huck Porty, I hope that those minutes are very small and that it's not going to factor into the results of a ball game. I feel like Tibbs just needs to have a quick hook, and people may not like this, but if you want to win the first 4 games, you might have to shrink that rotation, man, to 8 men. 9 men if you want to go with Huck Porty, or you want to go with Dadiet or Kolek. I think I'm okay if those guys are the 9th man, but it has to be Deuce, Precious, and Cameron Payne, and a steady diet of the starters included. I think that could be what gets the starters going. Just playing more minutes, because our bench is a little concerning at the minute, right? With Shamet no longer there. Does OG need to play with the bench, to help in the absence of potentially Precious, and just be that defensive anchor as well, right? And then I'm a little worried about OG's minutes. We're going to depend on him a lot. So what do you guys think about that? What's up, Steve? Says Bridges looks like a daisical. I agree. I think the energy isn't there yet. Maybe he's dealing with something we don't know about. A lot of these things never come out. But, our eye test tells us that we're just not seeing the same level of hype, that same level of, engagement. Yep. Kamei also says, well, what happened to Bridges' jump shot? Yep. Yeah, I think it's going to come around eventually, but yeah, he needs to work on it and he needs to get it right. Ryan says, rough start, but important to win these games. Yeah, so look, we finished 4-1 in preseason, but I throw that record out with the trash, man. It's not a reflection because we haven't really played good teams. I really like the Minnesota game. That was a good test, but again, the kind of second half of that ball game was like, a lot of junk time as well. Look, now that I think about it longer, fam, and deeper, maybe tonight's game is the best thing that could possibly happen. A nice little kick up the behind, a nice little wake up call, right? If we had won tonight, the story would have been 5-0 in preseason, and everything's perfect, everything's nice and rosy. But basically, to start the season, it's going to be baptism by fire, against Boston, Cleveland, Indiana, and Miami, right? So a nice little loss, an asterisk loss in terms of the starters didn't really play much late. Deuce McBride out, all of that, buzzer beater to finish the game and all of that. Maybe that can disguise what was maybe a nice needed little, wake up call, in my opinion. Agent, appreciate you. Smash that like button, guys. Helps with the channel a lot. And you already know what it is, man. Let us know your thoughts. We shout it out here. We've got plenty of content coming before the season hits. And then you already know what it is, man. It's going to be buzzing all season long here. Steve says Dadiet looks very promising and pretty athletic. Yeah, late surprise of the preseason. Missed him in the first few games. I wish he would, been able to play more. But to your point, I think if you're a draft junkie, and shout out to you, and you guys know that I love the draft and I look at the prospects, we do content and all of that. What I always say is when a player is that young, the upside, the potential for growth in a large amount of growth in a short period of time is real. With Pacome Dadiet, people were sleeping on him 3 months ago. The kid is still growing, like mentally, physically, all of those things. He could be jumping out of the gym right now. He could be, a huge factor in the next few months. All of those things, development, getting with the right coaches, getting with a proper professional diet and dietitians, getting in the weight room, um, just playing with proper NBA talent can elevate his game. Where we might blink and he's 19 and a half and he's an NBA rotation player right away. Um, and so there's a lot of optimism about him, man. I'm really not worried about Shamet as much after what I've seen from Pacome Dadiet. 2 of 3 tonight. I mean, he was more efficient than Shamet has been when it comes to that. And so here are some options. The Knicks could do this. Basically, like Bobby Marks is saying, the Knicks are responsible for only 15K if we waive Shamet by tomorrow 5 p.m. Eastern time. Or if there's optimism that he doesn't need surgery and he can come back in, I don't know, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Maybe they decide to keep him. I think that would be a little risky still, but they might be trusting what they have, which is a kind of a good or a bad thing. It could be a wait and see, right? But could mean more Kolek minutes, and it could mean more Dadiet minutes as well. But we are going to depend on who we have a lot more, man. Cameron Payne, which is a great question that Buzzer asked, and we're going to depend on Deuce Miles McBride, the sixth man. Steve says Deuce will carry us offensively, and Nick's 25 champ says Dadiet has star potential, and Ryan says look forward to the Knicks smashing the pacemakers. I like that. Fam. Lonzo Ball return, Buzzer. I'm not worried about him, man. He looked good, but I'm not worried about the Chicago Bulls at all. So I think, I think he'll take a little while getting up to speed, but there's questions over whether he can remain more healthy. But yeah, in terms of our guys, fam, I think, it's been a successful preseason for Deuce Miles McBride, and I think he still deserves great consideration for the standout player of preseason. And it looks like, it's back and forth between him, Pacome Dadiet, and Jalen Brunson. I think Precious Achua is a really, really positive takeaway from preseason, deserves heavy minutes. Even if that means Sims and Huckporty are both out of the rotation, I'm happy giving Precious 30 plus minutes. So I think he can be depended upon. So I think your core 6th and 7th guys are quite solid, very solid in the case of Deuce McBride. Cameron Payne can be really nice at times, he can just be hit and miss. But he is he is all that we've got right now. And so he's the 8th guy. It's a shame about Shamet, but next man up, and this might be the first of 1,000 times that I say this season in a post-game show, but it's going to be a season of next man up. Our depth isn't what it used to be last season, right? And with that said, guys, Tibbs is going to have to get creative with mixing and matching of lineups, or Leon Rose is just going to have to get busy, signing a couple guys. So what we do know is Huckporty will most likely take a 14th spot, which means that the Knicks are actively looking for a two-way replacement for Ariel Huckporty. So that could be good. We might end up filling his two-way spot with a player that could be a factor as well. But I feel like Ariel definitely deserves, a real roster spot. I think it's hard to make an argument that he doesn't, especially because we are light on big men. With that said. So yeah, we've got some more hashtag PEDs coming through the building. Buzzer says second unit has great ball movement and player movement as well. Yep. Salvador's loving Dadiet on that one. So Champagne Puppy, any updates on Precious? Unfortunately, nothing yet, man. It's going to have to be a wait and see for the tests, I think. I guess based on my experience, I don't think it's going to be a long-term absence. So I think we can breathe a sigh of relief in terms of that. Normally, if you were to really tear the hamstring or rip it, the player wouldn't be able to walk. They'd be basically like, popping up and down. I think with Precious, it looked like a small tweak, where he was able to sort of just lightly walk off the court and back to the locker room. And so, you know, look, it's never pleasant, man. It looks like he might not be a lock for opening night against Boston. Um, I wouldn't take that chance, man. If it's 50-50, it's too big of a gamble. I think risking Precious Achua in terms of a long-term sense. And so I think rest him if he's not ready to go opening night. And I think just be cautious. With that said, right, we're going to have to need to play OG and Cat with the bench a little bit. OG either or Cat. And look, Tibbs hasn't been shy playing these guys, and I think that's probably another positive takeaway from preseason. Um, Coming into preseason, maybe I thought Tibbs would just be a little bit more stubborn about just the starters, fine tuning for the regular deal. But the fact that he gave, Huck Porty, minutes in 4 of the 5 games, the fact that he's given Pacome Dadiet, minutes, in a couple of games, maybe it was kind of forced his hand tonight. The Knicks were lacking energy, and so he did throw Dadiet out there. But I think we are going to benefit from that long term. I think we will reap the rewards from playing these rookies early. I think their feel for the game is better than people anticipate. And I think at times, these guys might be pushing these veterans for a spot, right? I mean, TJ Warren didn't really play much tonight. Tyler Kolek played more than him. Cameron Payne played more than TJ. Pacome Dadiet played more than TJ as well. And you could throw Chuma Akiki in there overall. So Vaughn Allen says hopefully not CT as well. Great to see you in the chat, guys. Great to hear your thoughts on this one. The preseason's in the books. I mean, I'm going to grade it a B- right now. B- because I think there's some concerns, there's questions. I think if Bridges had looked really good, Cat had looked more efficient, it would definitely be an A, B plus A. But we're coming into opening night, man, and it's all going to be there on the line to start the season. But really, we've looked good in probably 2 of the games, and there's just been flashes in some of the other games. But with that said, the opportunity is going to be there for guys to step up. And I think we haven't seen enough of Kevin McCullough. He's still rehabbing. I think he has the hallmarks of being a rotation player at some point soon. I think he's a defensively sound player. It's unfortunate that he hasn't been able to play any preseason and just, give us a look at what he could do. But we know what Deuce can do. I think Kolek's been a tick for preseason. Dadiet's been a tick. Huck Porty's been a tick. I think Campaign's been a tick as well. Precious already. Questions over Shamet and, of course, Jericho Sims now as well. But, let's see. Let's see what Tibbs has up his sleeve, right? Who would you guys want to see as the 9th guy? We kind of know the 8 guys on opening night. But the biggest question for me now is who's that 9th guy? Or does Tibbs just tighten it down, to that point? Vaughn says we got to stay healthy. And that's absolutely a fact, fam. Especially, the fact that we can't fill out the 15th spot. And so, look, long term, we really need Mitch to get back soon. I know the diagnosis is probably, January right now, they anticipate. However, we need to fill that 15th spot, in my opinion, to have that extra depth for the postseason run. So does Mitch get back healthy and show that he's a huge factor? Or does his contract get traded and so that the Knicks can maybe add more depth with his salary slot? I think that's one of the biggest questions that's going to continue into the season for me, guys, because, I've said this before, but I don't really feel like a championship caliber team can run 14 roster spots into the season. I think you need more depth than that, right? All it takes is the normal 2 or 3 injuries, and then you're having to play your 11th, 12th, 13th guy in meaningful playoff games, and that's a scary thought, right now. And so yeah, there is a little bit of work to be done, I think, with the depth and just seeing who we can bring in, I think, for some more assurance, right? Lonnie Walker is out there potentially, Mook Morris. Do they decide to keep TJ Warren for now until Landry Shamet can get back? Um, Either way, I feel like Shamet's going to stay longer term, whether they let him go and bring him back again. But it does seem like they're really high on Landry, and he's received high praise uh, from the team, I think, which is justifiable. We also had some updates, man, on the Roommates podcast, right? We found out how Cat found out he was traded, and it was basically only 4 minutes before Shams tweeted it out, which is absolutely crazy. So I haven't checked out the full episode yet, but I've seen the key quotes as well, and they did address the Dante DiVincenzo altercation as well, and they kind of downplayed it a bit as the usual chippiness and fire and desire after getting traded, but they were very adamant that it's all love between the guys on that one, man. Um, But yeah, I wanted to highlight this for you guys, that may not have seen it. But so this was me basically last September covering some NBL games with Ariel Hukporti, right? So this is basically me covering his game. I know what he's capable of. I was talking about it last September, obviously, as you can see here. Uh, His athleticism, alley-oop threat came off the page, but I think it's great to see him take these opportunities in preseason. And then in January, at the start of the year, I dropped some scouting notes on Ariel Hukporti. Kind of heard some things that he was on the Knicks radar, and a lot of teams were interested in him. But he did slip in the draft because there was some concerns about the longer-term Achilles injury. But basically, at the time, Knicks GM assistant Walt Perrin came down to scout the man. Basically, and that was me in January talking about it. The Knicks really like what they saw. And so I think he's a piece for the future. And I think that's a big win. I think the Knicks draft night, has the potential to be a home run, right? And as our man, James Barlow, and brother of Rafael Barlow, they do a great job on the NBA Big Board podcast, man. Locked On NBA Big Board. We had James on the show, man, and in June 27, we talked about Pacome Dadiet, and he talked about how high he was on Dadiet and being that guy that the Knicks, got, which was a really, really good pick. There was a lot of questions over why did the Knicks take him over Kolek, or why did they pick Dadiet over some of these other guys? Well, it's still very early to tell, but the fact is, Dadiet is looking like a very sound 25th pick, I think, so far. So the Knicks scouts really did another number on that one, as it appears right now. His size, he's still growing as well. He's 19. So that's what has me feeling the best about preseason so far. And then you just love the confidence of Tyler Kolek here, here for the go-ahead bucket to almost win the ball game for the New York Knicks, right? I like the little pick and roll action between Kolek and Hukporti too. I really feel like there's good connection between those guys. Kolek keeps his dribble alive here, keeps probing, and it helps to be ambidextrous as well. Because look at Kolek. Look how he rejects the screen and then he turns and he goes with the left and then with the right dribble. Ladies and gentlemen, kids watching, that's what allows you to be a factor offensively. You keep the dribble alive and then you can basically turn the pick on a dime and get downhill. And you see Cat hyped. And he had the stones to finish in traffic as well. So he's not afraid of contact, which is something that some undersized point guards do, lack, and they get worried about driving down Broadway and finishing in traffic. So I like the moxie of Kolek. He just has to obviously get in the weight room. He has to develop better speed. But if he does, man, I think he'll be a solid two-way piece. for the Knicks. Vaughn says Kolek makes the game look so easy. Yeah, I like to hear that, man. Salvador says we can slowly bring Mitch off. Yep. Steve says Huckporty doesn't look like a rookie. Yeah, agree with you on that, because I think he's had many years of pro experience, and I think the lessons he's already learned early in his career. And this is another piece of insight I can give, man. The former team that Ariel Huckporty was on, man, they absolutely raved about his character vibes in the locker room. He's a great personality, is Ariel Huckporty, in terms of just being a great teammate. But they rave about his commitment and his work ethic. So basically, when Ariel Huckporty tore his Achilles, man, he was set to get drafted. It was the preseason of the leading up to the season of getting drafted, and he basically had to miss the entire season. It was heartbreaking, and it was a huge setback for a big, to tear your Achilles so early. But the way he attacked his rehab was apparently getting, all the reviews. The way he attacked the weight room and getting that strength back, and we're starting to see the benefits of that. And so, yeah, I think on and off the court, I think Ariel Huckporty is a guy that the Knicks will probably look to keep, long term. Obviously, he needs to play more minutes, and we can evaluate his game further as it develops. But I think he can really give the Knicks something, and the chemistry and the cohesion between him and Kolek looks legit as a piece off the bench. Wall Street says we should be playing at least 1 to 2 starters either with the bench at all times. 100% agree with that. 100%. And yes, Steve, I'm so glad that we kept Precious, because, think about, I mean, I don't even want to think about, but how would our depth look if without Precious Achua? I mean, you'd be forced to play Huckporty and Sims a lot too. So that is going to be a huge factor, is Precious Achua. Anthony says Mikal Bridges overrated, 2 of 19 from 3 in this preseason. Something's not right, man. Something has to get right with him. Yeah, I need to see him get back to the Phoenix days, right? Juan says, not sure if Hart is better off the bench and start Precious. Feel like we would be more balanced. That could be something to look at, man. I really do feel like Precious and Deuce might at times be force their way to the starting unit or starting looks. And then you could have Hart together with Cameron Payne does sort of, address some undersized issues and balance the roster out maybe a little better. So yeah, Knicks fans know ball, and it's been a common theme this preseason that a lot of guys have been wanting to see either Deuce with the starting unit or Precious. I think you can make the case for either. I think, we've seen Brunson play with Deuce, so that looks good. And we also seen a little bit of Precious together with Cat. And then you could get Cat back to the 4 a little bit as well. But yeah, I feel like we're going to find out soon, man. It's going to be baptism by fire, because yeah, you're not going to be able to hide, from the spotlight, against Boston, and then against Indiana, Cleveland, and then Miami. We're going to have to figure things out real quick. And a couple losses, Tibbs might tweak it. Tibbs might mix it up a bit. But one thing's for sure, I am glad we have the opportunity to make these decisions, because Deuce and Precious are looking good. As well as the starters looking a little underwhelming, I think it helps the fact that Deuce and Precious Achua are looking pretty good. So that could be the remedy, the aspirin for the headache. It helps if you can identify a problem with a solution. And so, I think, Deuce and Precious are going to factor into this season heavily as the 6th and 7th guys. I think Cameron Payne is shown to be a solid, shrewd pickup for the veterans minimum. And then I really like our rookies. I think Huckporty can play right away, right? There's one thing that's kind of irked me a little bit regarding the Huck Porty stuff specifically is the sort of the lazy takes people had early about playing in the G League and stuff. And I get it was probably just a little bit of ignorance, but Ariel Huck Porty has played in a professional competitive league for 3-4 seasons, right, against grown men. I think the G League would be a step down from that. I think Ariel Huck Porty's ready to play real minutes right away, right? Yes, he's a rookie, but he's not coming from college. He's played professionally. The other one, Pacome Dadiet, I could understand because he's 19 and he's physically underdeveloped a little, but he could do with some G League minutes. But after tonight, spare minutes, maybe situational minutes, maybe more than that, could be on the table for Pac-Man, right? They don't teach feel for the game, and they also don't teach length. And I think the Knicks might be needing those. They might be lacking a bit. I mean, and like I said before, man, don't sleep on the ceiling of Pacome Dadiet because, when a guy's 19 and he was a first round draft pick, there's potential that where he could have been a serious lottery talent. And maybe, the Knicks got themselves that steal where he didn't show it yet, but we draft him and then here we are, and he's starting to develop a lot more. And so I'm glad the Knicks got this, this added depth from the draft. I mean, a lot of people were surprised that we did pick up 4 guys in the draft. What's up, Eddie F? Great to see you. Eddie says, I'm very concerned with the depth. Dadiet is getting a look. I agree, man. I think we need to see Dadiet play a bit. I mean, 2 of 3. At the very least, he can just be a corner spacer, catch and shoot. Let's see. Salvador says, Mitch Monster, shelved till the playoffs. Crazy New York City D, just saying. And Richard says, Precious looked like he pulled a hammy. That would mean a month or so without him, probably. Hopefully it wasn't a pull, man. Maybe just a tweak. Maybe a tweak. Maybe it's a 1 or 2, 3 week kind of thing. At most. Hopefully it's not even that. But yeah, man. I mean, that's just a lesson we need to learn from preseason. We lost Shamet and we lost Precious potentially for a few games at least. And so we need to make a decision on a smart decision on filling out the rest of this roster. Now, some of you are keen on getting back Moses Brown. I know the Knicks waived him, signed him to a camp deal, and sent him out to Westchester. But I think it looks like Moses Brown might be a chance to take a two-way if Huck Porty gets converted to a real spot. Because if we lose Precious for just a week or two, I mean, even if it's just a non-guaranteed deal, just sign somebody. Because I don't want to see a healthy dose of Sims. I really don't, man. And look, Jake Toppin has the length to play the 4, so I don't want to forget about Jake. I think Kevin McCullough can guard. He's a bit undersized, but he can guard some 4s as well. But it could just mean TJ Warren, Pacome Dadiet, more minutes as well. So the Knicks have got a few decisions to make on that. Juan says also that Bridges changed his shot form, and this offseason it might take a while to get back in rhythm. Hopefully, man. Hopefully it only takes a little while, but it looks like the shot has significantly changed, man. And he's got that little hitch, and I think it needs to hopefully either go back to what he had it before, or he just needs to, maybe shake off the rust, like you said. But I mean, Dadiet's form looks absolutely beautiful on that high release. Keontae George closing out, who's also 6'8", couldn't even block that shot. And so Pacome Dadiet's got, the nice catch and shoot, pulled up with confidence. You knew the moment he caught it, he was ready to pull the trigger on that one, man. So I can't say enough about the kid. As a 19-year-old, he's got Tibbs breathing down his neck, who, we know notoriously is harder on rookies. He has a smile on his face too. He doesn't look like he's stressed. You know how Kevin Knox used to look? Kevin Knox always just sort of kept the same face, didn't show any emotion. just always looked worried, looked a little raw at times as well. But yeah, look, I think the pro experience has done Pacome Dadiet well overseas because he just doesn't look worried. Makes a couple mistakes, he just laughs it off basically. So I don't think he's worried about Tibbs pulling him. So also shout out to the coaches for hopefully what was a successful camp and preseason, getting these rookies ready. Because this was a strategy of the New York Knicks. Whether it's going to be ultimately what Tibbs does, early in the season, we wait and find out. But the Knicks front office, Walt Perrin and the draft scouts, their strategy was to fill the roster out with more cheaper guys from the draft because they had to. We're up against the second apron by just a couple of 100,000 K. So the Knicks had to draft 4 players, and their strategy was to draft guys that they feel like might be more ready, specifically Kolek, McCullough, and Hukporti with the final pick that they calculated. They moved and they got that pick late in the draft to get Ariel Hukporti because they knew he was going to slide out of the draft. So that was a shrewd move, in the words of Clyde. But the best player out of all of them could be Pacome Dadiet, and I don't think that's any hyperbole based on what we've seen, man. We've seen a lot of flashes. It's been quick decisions, it's been decisiveness, and it's been efficiency. All the things you need from a rookie in a short minute sample as well. Richard says yes to Moses Brown. Amen. I would agree with that, fam. I think at least if we fill a 2-way spot, get him in. We need the length, we need the size. I do feel like we'll probably sign a like for like kind of player if Hukporti is converted to the 14th guy. I think we'll then probably fill another big with the 2-way just for another insurance policy. Hey, it might even be James Nagy from Europe, the Charlotte guy that we picked up as well. But also, apparently, according to Kristen Winfield, Josh Hart went back to the bench, was walking gingerly, and that's when the Tibbs decided to sort of pull the plug on the starters with that one. So let me refresh and see if there's any new updates on these rooks, right? And any new updates on the status after this ball game as the New York Knicks lose by 1 point to the Washington Wizards in the preseason finale. Right. We've got some updates on the Mikal Bridges situation. We'll hear from him in a second, right? But the Cat Brunson duo was solid tonight, man. 27 points from Brunson, 22 from Cat with 12 rebounds, right? We've got the Yankees right now. Let me refresh the score on that one, man. Close ball game, bottom of the 7th. Yankees narrowly ahead 6-5, right? Trying to take a commanding 3-1 lead and get revenge after last night against Cleveland, man. Let me know the scores in the Liberty as well, if you guys are checking that too. Appreciate you guys rocking out with us. Post-game live, as the Knicks preseason is in the books. 4-1, right? I gave it a B, B minus. Some good things to take away. But I feel like there's more questions and concerns that have emerged throughout preseason. But there's also been some solutions and some surprises, I think, in various areas, man. Mostly being the rookies and some of the bench players, Deuce McBride. So let me bring up these quotes from Bridges right now. In the locker room interviewed, Christian Winfield says, Bridges says he's been trying to fix his jump shot for 7 years, trying to get his form back to where it was at Villanova. When I came out of college, I tweaked it a little. And then my second year in the league, I had the hitch and tried to build back from that. And so that's concerning, man. I think obviously he was a bucket in college, but yeah, the changes, the constant changes is concerning, I think, from Bridges, but we need to get that fixed up, I think defensively he can be better as well. I think McCullough will factor in, Steve. I think if he can get healthy, I think it's a shame we didn't get to see him get a running start in preseason, because I think it's going to be tough for him as the season starts to show what he can do in meaningful minutes. But I feel like, based on what I know about his game, I feel like he'll be a significant help for us. And Ed K, yeah, it's completely unnatural relating to Macau's shot right now. It's something that he needs to get in the gym and fix ASAP. Get with the shooting coaches too. What do you guys think about Kolek's shot? Pretty solid. I didn't peg him as a 3-point threat or a shooter, but I think it's been more than encouraging for TKO in preseason. I think that's just going to least allow the defense to keep him in check, or keep his opponent in check in terms of respecting the shot, right? Needing to close out. You need to be aggressive, and when you're open, you need to shoot it. I think Tibbs stresses that, which is really great. It's important to know that the defenders can't just lack off you, and allow you to just be wide open. Otherwise, the entire offense is just going to kind of shut down from that perspective. But yeah, I like the ceiling of Kolek. I like the stones that he shows at times late in ball games. Don't forget, after Summer League, he had a couple of nice close finishes, go-ahead buckets, tying buckets, and tonight we saw it again from TKO. So I think the Knicks stole a first-round pick with him in the second round, arguably a lottery pick. I think it's going to be nice to do a redraft, I think, as the season goes. And I think this draft class is stronger than people, anticipate. I mean, we saw it tonight. I was really high on Bub Carrington. He was really pressuring Brunson, and he's got a bright future. Keontae George was really high on him, and he's showed out really well, 2 games against us. Players like Reed Shepherd, Dalton Connect last night, 36 points. Zach Eady's looked amazing. Khalil Wares looked great. Ariel Hukporti was the final draft pick. I mean, there's a lot of talent that just got drafted, man. Not as good as, some, recent drafts, of course, but not as good as the one coming up. But man, nowhere near as bad as some people said it was going to be. I mean, a lot of intriguing overseas talent, Pacome Dadiet, one of those guys too. But we'll finish on this positive note, which I think, the Knicks, could have easily won this ball game, right? So, nothing to really worry about in terms of the result. But I think the starters, do need to, gel better, right? It's unfortunate we don't have any more preseason games for these guys, right? Tibbs decided to decide to rest those guys in the 4th game. It is what it is now. I think the effort will be higher, which is positive. I think the energy will be better. Of course, those things are, non-negotiables. It's literally now up to, the players to pull all the strings together, Tibbs to push all the right buttons. We're going to find out more, obviously, tomorrow. The Knicks need to make their cuts. They need to make their final roster decisions as well. I got a feeling we'll hear some significant news about Precious and Shamet and all of those things. So will be live tomorrow night. We'll do a little day after recap and wash up. So we'll talk about it more tomorrow. And then we'll be diving into our season preview shows before Tuesday. But it's almost a wrap from me tonight, guys. Great comments, questions tonight. I appreciate you for the super chats as well, contributions. Like and subscribe to the channel. The rookies, man, stealing the show in preseason. It's over to you now, Tibbs. Right, who are you going to play? I think the effort needs to be better, though. The energy was lacking early, but positive from Brunson. It's been a mixed bag from Cat. Great offensively at times. I like his fight and hustle, rebounding. I'm just not as sold yet on the defensive rim protection and the prowess from what we had last season. But Precious is a nice insurance policy. Maybe we switch things up. Maybe the best thing is to just split the starters with the bench, you know, and find a better balance between playing OG with the bench more, you know, having Bridges play off Brunson more and help getting him going as well. Maybe playing Deuce McBride in the starting unit in Bridges' absence. That could be something we need to do, because right now it's no debate. Deuce is a better shooter than Bridges, you know. Bridges is, you know, Deuce is in a better rhythm right now. Dadiet is in a better rhythm than Bridges too, right? How long before Tyler Kolek forces his way into the rotation is a real question as well, right? Should he be forcing his way into the rotation straight away? That is something to look out for as well, with no Shamet, right? I think there's a real case where it is Deuce, Payne, Kolek, and Precious Achiuwa, right? And you find a way to spread the bench out with the starters better. And maybe he cuts Sims from the rotation. After this preseason, I don't know if Sims is a lock to play any minutes, you know. Tibbs might just go a little smaller and get Kolek in there, right? And then you can play Payne off the ball a little bit as that offensive shooter, you know, and weapon, right? So I really feel like Okiki will get cut and maybe he'll be in Westchester. And I agree with Steve. I think Bridges will be fine ultimately, but new team, new surroundings. It's going to take some time, man. But we have the luxury. That's the thing now. We have Brunson. We have Cat. We have OG playing really well too, right? I can't undersell the fact that OG had an amazing game, looked efficient. I think he looks ready to be the third option offensively, right? Bridges, just stand in the corner, be a 3-and-D guy. But I'm confident giving Bridges, you know, some more looks, you know, and of course Josh Hart, you know, something might need to be done with him, you know, and switch that up a bit more too. But that's it, guys. That's my thoughts on instant reaction from tonight's game. A decent preseason, you know, not giving it a bad grade at all. It's going to be a B minus, but the real deal is Tuesday. We open the NBA season, and man, it's going to be fun, man. Buckle up, because the streets are going to be buzzing. And like I said, I'll probably be on again tomorrow night. So let's break it down again. We'll talk about any news. 5 p.m. the roster cuts will be needing to be made, and prayers up for Precious Achiuwa. And hopefully he's okay, man, as Precious Achiuwa tweaked his hamstring and didn't finish the game out. So we'll see. But great to see you, Susan and Dre. And join us tomorrow night, man. I'll probably be live around 7 p.m., 8 p.m. And then we'll talk about the decisions that were made on the roster. But peace, everyone. Let's go Yankees. Let's go Mets. And let's see what happens with that, fam. Let's get it. Have a great night.